welcome to the show.
Or it's just not going to work at all. Hi, everybody. How are you? I made it pretty. It's not working real well. Just quite yet. And I've got the ring light up too light. Would you entertain the lovely folks?
You know that bit at the end of like 3 Star Trek movies, and it's actually, I think, the same 3 that open with the Enterprise is the only ship in the sector, even though there's like 55,000 Starfleet vessels, where they get a new coat of paint and an air freshener, and Kirk sits down and goes, I don't like it. And everyone's like, shut up, Bill, you suck. And then they decide to go out and do like a shakedown cruise. This is kind of the shakedown cruise for the winter plumage. It's all good.
Hello, everybody. It looks really pretty. I have discovered what overlays are for, and I love them, but I just haven't had enough time to play with them yet. And you might have noticed that you have little gingerbread houses now instead. Yes, it is very festive. It's very
festive.
But it's winter. It's not Christmas. It's winter. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving. No, I do not celebrate Christmas until the 1st of December. So this is winter themed, not Christmas themed.
Tell the nice people what we're doing tomorrow.
We're going to the spa.
Yes.
And then I'm going to bake a turkey.
We're taking a day off.
Off? I think it's pronounced off.
Off.
Day off.
Off.
I don't know how that works, though.
Right?
Compost solstice. There's many. Happy holidays is a perfectly valid thing to say. There's like 20 gazillion of them in these following 7 weeks. So, yeah.
I watched Red Notice over the weekend. I'm not proud of that, but it was fun.
Somebody had to. It wasn't going to be me. Let's be honest.
And of the several moments where God's Perfect Idiot carries that movie on his back, the moment where he's like, teamwork, team. That feels funny to say.
Right.
And just walks off shot.
So, we've made it lovely. We're going to continue to make it lovely over time.
Well, lovelier, because we are here.
And yes, you're very lovely. I love you very much. Right? Exactly. Hanukkah's in 4 days. Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, I know. What's better with leftover turkey than latkes and sour cream and applesauce? Both, because I don't have to choose.
So getting the potato sack was in fact a fine strategic move, is what you're saying.
Alasdair would like to hereby officially be known as the starch warden, because his job is the potatoes. I tend to do everything else. But he does the potatoes, including latkes, and I freaking love latkes.
By the way, that doesn't mean Margaret does all the cooking ever. That is quite evenly distributed.
No.
It's just during festive times of year, my job is starch.
His job is starch. He's a Celt. He comes from a fine potato tradition, and potatoes are his thing. And speaking of all those lovely little gingerbread houses you have, there's emojis of them now.
Yes.
But I didn't have time to push them into my buttons, so you will have to use all of the festive emoji
You're missing
on my
Wendy
behalf.
admitting she learned how to crochet a potato earlier this evening for reasons.
Reasons? Mealy related? Yes! Are they not festive? Are you not There we go. Okay, I'm just gonna move on. So yes, we've got all of the wintry whatnot going on now, everybody. So don't let me harsh your buzz. If you want to do Christmas now, do Christmas now. It's 100% valid. Go forth. I'm waiting. I haven't had my first peppermint mocha. That's what makes it Christmas. And that will be on December 1st.
Whilst I remember, by the way, and this is a very limited utility to a show with a public audience.
We're just totally going to go on tangents
Wendy,
tonight. It's fine.
Sit Greg in front of Red Notice. It is one of the most Greggy movies to ever, Greg. Seriously. Nazi gold, Wendy. Nazi gold.
Hey, Naomi. The tree goes up tomorrow. Valid. My boss put his tree up last weekend. Totally fair. I think we own 7 ornaments in a box somewhere that maybe we could put up someday.
Do we want to get some ornaments?
For what?
I don't know. Ornamentation.
Maybe we should get one Christmas ornament for each audio drama Alasdair's been cast in.
Because that's a non-zero number now. Good segue. High five.
Thank you. I've
been
practicing.
In addition to my role in
Right, Compost Witch. PSLs are for all year round. Thank you very much. Loving the pumpkin.
In addition to my role in the upcoming and excellent Secret of St. Kilda.
Love you, Naomi.
Love you, Naomi. I have been cast, and it's been announced this week, in a new show called Rogue Maker. Rogue Maker is about a passenger space liner that suffers a catastrophic failure, and the people aboard race to the escape pods and discover things are occurring.
Yes.
I play the flight attendant. I play a guy called Malachi Tessera, and Malachi is lovely.
And that's all you know.
And that's all you need to know.
Right. So, yes, he's been doing a great job. Naomi, I would kill for a St. Kilda Christmas ornament. That would be lovely. We'll have to see about that. Absolutely. Yes. Oh, gosh. What is today?
Wednesday, I checked twice.
It's been a very, very,
Allow me
very
to briefly
strange
walk
week.
you through the
It's
last...
been a busy week,
It's been a busy
John.
week, John.
Right.
Allow me to briefly walk you through the last 48 hours in our lives. On Monday,
It's very good, lovely.
we went into London, in my case for the first time in close to 2 years, to have dinner with friends, one of which is the magnificent Specky Ferret. Is Specky with us tonight or not?
I have not seen Specky yet. No.
Specky, if you're catching this on the VOD, hello. It was
Hello
fantastic
again.
meeting you in person.
There's even a couple of Welsh cakes left. Don't ask me how that happened.
Right. And our friend Hector from Austin.
Yeah.
And they had come over to go see Darren Brown at a book event and other stuff, because you don't just come from Austin.
They were visiting in Paris, and they came over to London for a night or two to do some stuff.
And
so we went to dinner
Hector,
with them.
despite being an incredibly cultured and refined man who's an incredible cook and who brought us 2 jars of just astounding homemade hot sauce, wanted to go to Nando's. And I've got to tell you, Nando's did not acquit itself well.
No.
I have quite low standards when it comes to food, in that if it's hot and it doesn't look disgusting, I'm probably okay.
Especially if it involves potatoes.
It was fucking Nando's. It was chicken that you heat.
Yes.
Not chicken that you heated this morning.
Yeah. So it was a meal. It occurred. He enjoyed it. He had the experience he wanted. Ultimately, that's what we were there for. So
It was great. The company was fantastic, and also there was food. So,
yes,
you know.
and the photos were good, and more importantly, you went into London for the first time in 2 years.
Yes.
And it went fine.
And it went fine.
Because we didn't go on the underground.
Sat in a coffee shop and worked, sat in a park and talked to an excellent dog. Well, I didn't talk to him because he was like the park warden. He was running around.
He's very busy.
Running around doing dog stuff. At
Very
one
busy
point, he
dog
balked
stuff.
at a leaf that was in the wrong place.
Shame on that leaf.
I know, right? So that was fun. And then yesterday we became cybernetically enhanced.
Yeah, we got our COVID boosters yesterday.
I'm currently watching Fast and the Furious 11 on Space Netflix from the future whilst multitasking. And it's fucking
That's
great.
why our bandwidth is so shit.
Shit,
It's
sorry,
your fault.
sorry.
It's all his fault.
And then this morning at like 4 a.m. our cleaners went, "Hi!" And we were like, In fairness, it was 8:30, so, you know.
Well, they're supposed to be here at like 10. And they got here very early, which was okay. We were awake, but we were not compos mentis yet, so.
But
Coffee occurred.
they're
Off we went.
They're lovely people. We left. They cleaned the house. It was all good.
It's a fair and equitable exchange of goods and services.
15G, yes.
15G? I would really go for some 15G right now. I'd go for that. Really, yeah. Come on, Twitch. You can do it.
We have cleaners that come in once a month, and the rest of the time the kitchen is basically me.
Yes.
And the floors are me, not enough.
Because we both work. The way I think of it is, I would rather pay a professional to efficiently deliver a service that would take me 3 times as long and piss me off. And I choose not to spend what little spare time I actually have scrubbing toilets. And I am very appreciative of them for being paid to do it, and we always tipped them nicely, and we paid them all through the pandemic, even when they weren't able to be here.
It feels like a weird indulgence.
It does, but
it's also kind of a good one.
But it's also my contribution to the economy. It works very well for us. It happens once a month, and I'm always grateful that someone else mops my kitchen floor instead of that being my Saturday.
Trash pile full of Warhammer is
I mean,
also
valid.
completely valid.
Completely valid. There's
also, congratulations on the Hawkeye-ery.
Oh, I know. There's so much stuff.
Oh no, Beastrogen went arching today. Beastrogen did an arch.
Did you find a pizza dog? Did you take home a pizza dog to do arch with? For those of you who don't know, the Matt Fraction Hawkeye comic series is I am not the aficionado. That's his job. But the Pizza Dog
Former
issue,
professional.
where it's literally Pizza Dog's point of view, is brilliant. It's probably my favorite single issue comic that's ever been released.
Yeah, there's an entire issue from the point of view of the dog.
Yeah, Wendy, exactly. Paying someone to clean is no different to paying someone to service the car, or to write your will, or to trim hedges if you're short. It's a valuable service.
A Hungarian traditional bow. That's awesome.
I'm very curious. Is
Me too.
Horseback bow, maybe? I can't think. There's no spoilers here, Scott.
Just the comic, Scott.
We're just talking about the Matt Fraction comic, which is heavily drawn upon, and we won't go into any detail. But there is an issue of that comic that is from Pizza Dog's point of view, which is, I long for indie game developers to look at that and go, I could do that because
Lucky thinks in visual concepts.
Yeah.
And there are at least clouds of visual concepts associated with people.
Unlike a modern recurve, you can tilt it a little and wear gloves. Cosplay approved. I did.
Right.
Very much so.
Good job. So that all happened, and we watched the first couple of episodes of Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
And the first one is a pilot, and the second one is very good.
Yes. And I've never read the books.
Neither have I.
And the fact that I can consume this media in a form that does not involve me having to own 14 door stoppers really works for me. And we'll watch it and we'll enjoy it. And we have all of Cowboy Bebop still to watch. And Hawkeye just dropped today. And I still haven't seen the second season of Fort Salem.
Oh, Fort Salem,
and Witcher will be here. Witcher Mass will be here before we know it. And a few more weeks to go for holiday. And that's the other reason I pay for a cleaner. It's because I'm a professional woman and I can, and I'm not spending my spare time doing my cleaning unless I want to.
And there are parts where I quite want to.
And there are parts where you quite want to, and that's fine. And sometimes I need to get my clean on. But if I get one weekend a month of bona fide non-committed downtime, I choose to pay someone so I don't have to spend it scrubbing my kitchen floor. Because they can do it efficiently, and I can take 90 minutes to go check my work emails and drink a coffee. And it is brilliant, and everybody wins.
Beastrogen, there is nothing crap about Marvel miniatures or tarantulas.
No.
And my favourite type of tarantula is the type I'm not near, because I'm a teeny little bit arachnophobic.
Oh.
But I have been reliably informed that they are adorable and basically like large 8-legged dogs that are just slightly rubbish.
Cleaners are a beautiful investment in shared efficiency. They're great at it. I'm okay at it, but I will pay to keep some of my spare time, and I do it. And it's once a month, and it's amazing. Yes.
Dumb as hell and fluffy. Those are officially the two best descriptors for tarantulas I've ever heard.
What did Nadine have? She used to have a rose tarantula, I think it was called. It was really cute. It is not with them anymore. What were we doing? Like, normally this is where we do an opening monologue, but it's been 15 minutes already.
Firstly, welcome to the show.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Secondly, here's what's going to happen, because we haven't done this version of the show for a little while.
Right. We've had so many very cool people to talk to.
Which has been great.
Like Kate in the audience, who we should have a chat with, too. That would be fun.
Oh, yeah, we should. Shit, Kate, hi!
Yes, that Kate.
I was like,
yeah.
He
just did all the math in his head. You can see it if you squint.
Yes.
You may continue.
So 3 things normally happen on this show. Well, 4. The first is the digressions. We're kind of about halfway through, I guess. Probably be another installment of those later on.
Maybe.
The second is that there's going to be an opening monologue, which is back this week. It is biggity back, y'all.
Guess who wrote it?
Oh, my boy. Mr. Croakley is back in the house.
Yes,
our
exactly.
house band.
That will be fun.
And then we have a spooky story for you. And that spooky story this week is, I believe, called The Floor Upstairs.
Oh, you should know.
I've only read it. The Floor
Above.
By M L Humphreys. I'm going to give you a little bit of upfront about this, because this is one
of
those...
Miss you too, Kate. We're
not
going to
be...
buddy. So, folks in the audience, we're going on a digression. Cater Cakes is an amazing streamer, good friend of ours named Kate Baker, who is the podcast narrator for Clark's World and does lots of other cool genre stuff. And we haven't seen Kate
couple of years
now. Normally we see Kate when we go to Worldcon every year, and we're not
That's
going to
not happening
Worldcon this year. So we're trying to get in our people fix.
Welcome
kind of
back,
as
Silver.
We can.
Good to see
Hey,
you.
Silver, how's it going? And yes, Scott, you're right. We did do The Floor Above on Pseudopod. It was read by Dave Robison, who is yet another. How did Wendy describe them? AMSR voices?
Yes, asthma voices.
Asthma. I always get
ASMR.
I always get it wrong. Smooth, wonderful, relaxing resident
jazz.
voices. So in January.
See, firstly, excellent news, and we should hang out. And secondly, given the other news this week, now I'm going. We should try and get Dave Robinson to voice a Turian.
That would be fun.
Because he's got that kind of let's not talk about this now, shall we? Kind of soft jazz thing going on.
Yeah, he could do that. They can't put Shepard in a Mass Effect TV show. They can't. Because if they do, it's going to be a dude. And I love Mark Meer, but ain't nobody got time for Bro Shep, okay? They have to do another story set in the beloved Mass Effect universe with beloved character cameos, but they can't do Shepard. They can't make a canonical choice.
Some context for those of you that may not know. It emerged earlier this week.
Fetch up! Come on!
I believe yesterday that Amazon are quite close to sealing a deal for a Mass Effect live TV show.
Yeah. I think BioWare's been working on this for quite a while. Mods, could you throw that Pseudopod link in the chat if you would, please?
And I'm circling back around to that too. Before we do, though, one thing to remember about
it's Inception tangents. We're just gonna go on them for other compost. Which, thank you very much. Beat everybody to it.
One of the one thing which is worth remembering about that Mass Effect TV show, however, is remember a few months ago when Henry Cavill was flying to America and left those.
Oh, don't do that to me. Who would he play? Okay, folks, if Henry Cavill is going to be in a Mass Effect TV show, and he's not playing Shepard because BioWare's not stupid...
Then he should play Garrus.
No, he can't play Garrus. I need the original voice actor.
So he should...
And don't cover him up. Don't make him a Turian. Please, no.
So anyway...
First Contact War is my guess.
Makes sense.
So we still get Turians...
Or you do the really gutsy play, and you actually set the TV show.
We're not actually going to get around
yes,
to
we are.
anything tonight,
Between
folks. We're just going to hang out, right?
Mass Effect 3 and Mass Effect 4. And you actually set up the status quo for the new game in the TV show.
But then you have to make a decision about how Mass Effect 3 ended, and you paint yourself into the Dragon Age
they've
corner.
made the decision about how Mass Effect 3 ended. Mass Effect 4 wouldn't have happened if they hadn't.
I don't...
That's literally going to be a whole other show. And
Right,
it actually might be as well.
Oh,
I was talking about the Pseudopod episode. I don't know why this is the hand gesture right now, but I'm running with it. Yes, Scott, we ran this on Pseudopod a little while ago, and when I was casting around earlier this week for Spooky Wintry Ghost Stories, I was reminded of this, firstly because it fits the bill, and secondly because I really liked it.
It's good.
So we're going to do it here as well. And then you get the added bonus of Dave, and I believe Scott may have actually done the intro for this one. I can't for the life of me remember. Scott was either you or me over on Pseudopod with some extra built-in free show notes. Because we're givers, that's why. We're givers.
You hosted it.
It was me.
It was
me.
you.
I did it. I remember enjoying it.
Do you want to read it off of this as opposed to
I may as well. It's well laid out.
Yeah, it's all in the same browser tab too. But first,
are we going to take turns on this old school, baby?
Of course we are. But we've missed something very important.
The fan art.
Well, we already said thank you to Martin for his crimes. At least this one was relatively low-key.
Mr. Anderson.
But we have to also say thank you
to
the turkey boy. Look, Wendy.
Look, Wendy.
No sprouts.
Look, Wendy.
Sprouts are for Christmas. Okay, context. 1, this is a turkey hat for a sourdough starter.
I love our job.
You all get that, yes? There's his little turkey butt. It is adorable. The turkey hat is adorable. When Wendy gave us the turkey hat, it has some like little ivy decoration and some sprouts with adorable googly eyes. But here in the UK, they eat turkey traditionally for Christmas. I am American. I'm eating turkey tomorrow on Thanksgiving. So the way we've done this is, one, he gets turkey twice a year, which he's very happy about. But, you know, we have separate side dishes. That's how the fixins are different. Cornbread, stuffing, etc. for Thanksgiving. And then for Christmas, parsnips and sprouts and all the other English Christmassy things. That's how we keep
Basically,
it divided.
anything which could plausibly be described as "Cool, crikey, Mr. Scrooge."
You're not in any way
want
making
some of
an
these?"
adult-sized one at all, honest? You're not? I mean, I can make it a fascinator, I guess. I need a little... Conastays? Kind of. Neeps and Tatties is Burns Night. So that's in January. And because on Burns Night, you have Neeps and Tatties and haggis. And I love haggis. Everybody's like, ew, haggis. You can buy it where it doesn't have any organs in it if you don't want it that way.
You can buy vegan haggis.
You can buy vegan haggis. It's if you're from the South and you know what liver mush is, think of that. It is a ground meat with lots of pepper and oats, and it's amazing.
And if you crack a poached egg over it the morning after.
You have it the morning after pan-fried with a poached egg, and it's just, primo. I mean, you did learn how to crochet a potato... Oh, God, I'm getting this horrible, horrible image of the Carmina Burana gigantic fruit hat. Only it's all a turkey and sprouts and potatoes and carrots and everything.
You mean Carmen Miranda. Carmina Burana
is an opera. Yeah.
Carmen Miranda is the lady with the big fruit hat.
Whatever, I'm cultured. Deal with it.
Cultured, Joel.
The big fruit hat.
Fruit hat lady.
But with a turkey, right? Exactly. That's exactly what I'm... Oh, God. Okay. Sorry, Wendy.
It's fine.
Can't wait. Can't wait to see
do it live.
It'll be amazing. It'll be fine. It's all fine down here. All right, have we finished all of our tangents? So yes,
Mass Effect,
that was made by Wendy.
Hats.
Wendy is amazing. If you need your own contributions to this oeuvre of transformative art, Wendy can hook you up. And it is wonderful.
Yeah, I think we're good.
I think we're good?
I think we're good.
Shall we do an opening monologue?
Let's do an opening monologue. Brought to you by the magnificent Mr. Frog Krogley. Nate, if you're all up in Valhalla, have some meat on us, buddy.
Where is the button?
I don't know. I don't do buttons. I just do art.
Yeah, look at you. Right. So, here we go again. That's the wrong button. Here we go.
All 234 animals in Red Dead Redemption 2 reviewed. Part 3. You want to alternate these, old school?
Yes, old school.
Great. I'll do the introduction right after I move the microphone from all up in my
Don't touch! All right, there we go.
There are 234 different types of animal in the cowboy game, aka Red Dead Redemption 2. Nate is working his way through writing short reviews of all of them in alphabetical order. It's been a little while since I did one of these, but these animals aren't going to review themselves, so I'd best crack on. And with 43 already given definitive ratings for all time, I'm nearly a quarter of the way through the list. Well, more like 1/6 actually, but who cares about fractions? Anyway, today I've got a much more interesting selection to work through than last time's miserable collection of farm animals, so I'm in good spirits. Let's get our binoculars out and have a little mosey.
44. Western Chipmunk. Not to be confused with the Chipmunks, a secretive sect of religious fanatics led by the deep fat friar. Chipmunks used to be quite a big deal, didn't they? I used to quite enjoy the cartoon Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Although it's quite weird in hindsight that it was named after a famous troupe of male strippers. That's not true. Do you remember they had a little plane they flew around in? What was the name of the pilot, everyone? If he doesn't say it in this paragraph, I will come back. I'd been laboring under the false memory that it was actually made out of a hot dog for years. Until I saw a picture of it the other day and realized it was actually a cut-open soda bottle tied to a sausage-shaped balloon. I can see how I made my error. The other chipmunk cartoon of my childhood was Alvin and the Chipmunks, based off novelty music act of the same name, and I utterly detested it like any decent human being. Possibly the only cartoon I hated more was Doug. As such, chipmunks, inobtrusive as they were, will always be tainted for me. Verdict, 4 of 10. Pleasant stripes, but the grating whinge of those awful cartoon characters will always append, and Theodore, to any thought I've ever had about chipmunks. What's the name of the pilot for Chip and Dale. You have until the end of the opening monologue.
45. Californian Condor.
Dude.
I love condors. First of all, because they sound a bit like Gondor, the realm off of Lord of the Rings, led by the depressed Tomato Man. But also because they're enormous. The Andean condor, going by a combined measurement of weight and wingspan, is the biggest flying bird in the world. And while the Californian condor isn't quite as humongous, it's got a head like a necromancer's ballsack. And you've got to respect that. It's another conservation success story too. It became extinct in the wild in 1987, probably because of cowboys roasting them for no reason, but has since been reintroduced across much of its natural range, and it's doing alright. 7 out of 10. They probably smell dreadful, but I wish them well.
Hey, Jordan. 46. Double-crested cormorant. Oh, lordy fucking da. One crest not good enough for you, then. Nature abhors a show-off. Still, I can't be too harsh, because it looks like it's the mad scientist and/or local clergyman character in a Pixar film about water birds.
Oh, God.
That'd be quite good, actually, wouldn't it? It'd be called Foul Manners or something, and it'd have all the birds living in a kind of Jane Austen-type Regency setting, having balls and afternoon tea and that, until everything disrupted by a bunch of owls showing up and behaving like complete shits. Doing wheeze in the ballroom, coughing up pellets on the fancy chaise lounges, all complete shits. Being
crepuscular.
What is crepuscular?
I don't know.
Okay. That sort of stuff. Don't know how it all resolved. You'd have to work it out for yourself. Oh, an actual fact about cormorants, normal ones at least, not sure about DCCs. They were domesticated long ago by Chinese fishermen who sent them diving after the fish they crave, but put rings around their necks so they couldn't swallow them. Mean, but it's okay because I think they've given them a nice eel afterwards as a treat. 6 out of 10. Oh, Mr. Crestworth, whatever shall we do about these frightful owls? Oh, God, that's going to be fanfic by the end of the stream.
47. The Neotropic Cormorant. This is one of those animals that leads me to wonder exactly what Rockstar were playing at with RDR2's bestiary. There's only one type of crab, the best animal, in the game, but there's 2 cormorants? Call me a cynic, but they look almost identical. In fact, unless my reference materials are bungled, they are literally identical, although maybe with different colours that I can't see, because the almanac photos are all in black and white or sepia, I guess. Even if they are a different colour, that's just a palette swap, not a whole new animal. It's exactly the same as when you come across the skeletons you had to fight in the first level, but now they're red and slightly tougher. I suppose I should give you a fact about them, so here you go. Courtesy of Wikipedia, they lay up to 5 chalky bluish-white eggs. Verdict, 5 out of 10. 1 for every potential chalky bluish-white egg.
48. Cougar/mountain lion. Good Lord, the cougar. This animal is responsible for what is genuinely one of the most frightening moments I've ever experienced in a video game. And luckily, I caught it on camera during the nature watching stream that inspired this series of posts. Have a watch and enjoy the moment where I genuinely lose my mind with shock. There's a video linked in the original there. Verdict, 10 out of 10. More frightening than the Predator.
49. Legendary Cougar. Okay, we've covered the actual substance of cougars now, so I'll pick up a refrain from the first post in the series and have a brief whinge about how annoying it is that so many animals have names that double up as sex words. In this case, older women who like to do sex on younger men. I mean, I get the metaphor, but it's quite off-putting, really. Because if I met a lady who described herself as a cougar, I just think of a sort of horrible budget lion with breath like year-old dog food, chewing the arteries out of my neck.
As I quietly attempt to enjoy some corned beef.
But I suppose I've only got RDR2 to thank for that. As a tangent, thinking about cougars, the lady kind, I've just come up with an idea for a reality show called The Unreal Housewives of Orange County, about a group of glamorous middle-aged women who decide to become Unreal Tournament esports pros. How good would that be?
Coming soon to Pixar.
7 out of 10. Pretty underwhelming as legendary animals go, unless it did something really cool I've forgotten.
50. White cougar. Just remembered another really cracking bit of mountain lion lore in RDR2, come to think of it. You get sent to either hunt this thing or track down the people who were hunting it, and needless to say, you end up deep in a horrid cave where you find their mauled bodies right before the lights go out and you hear a vile, meowy noise. The following game of cat and cowboy is a brutally tense, and I felt an
ecstatic
mix of relief and triumph when I finally binned the big cat. Honestly, this should have been the legendary Cougar. Verdict, 9 out of 10. Still not capable of inflicting as much horror as the bog standard variety, but a hell of a set piece nonetheless. Right, I'm going to call it there for today, I reckon, but there's more corkers coming up, including the crab. Until next time, have fun and be careful when trying to enjoy a nice tin of beef.
Words to live by.
Exactly. Who's the pilot in Chippendale's Rescue Rangers? I'll give you a hint, it's a girl.
I believe we had the answer further up.
Did we?
Yes, we
Oh,
did.
I'm going to have to scroll a whole lot further back.
Good reference to Gadget Hack Ranch.
Yes! Well done, Pezzy! Points to you. Gadget is the best! It was very... Yeah, okay.
Monterey Jack and Gadget Hackworth.
Monterey Jack who loved cheese.
Oh, is that where that comes from?
Yes! Monterey Jack.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yes, he's my favorite. Okay. Okay, that was a trip down memory lane. Chippendale Rescue Rangers. It was good. It was a very good cartoon.
We had it over here. It wasn't...
Second only to Darkwing Duck, let's be honest.
Children's TV over here wasn't entirely some vicar.
Are you sure?
The 1950s black and white TV reading the Bible in funny voices.
Are you sure?
There was ITV as well.
Well, there was that horrible Mr. Blob thing as well. So honestly, that would be an improvement.
Don't you fucking invoke that pink and yellow demon. Jesus. There's a charity single that's just come out over here and it's appealing to whatever.
Charity single, as in a piece of music.
Yes.
Okay.
No,
Mr. Blobby.
You say it 3 more times, he'll manifest. And it's designed to appeal to whatever the fuck generation we are, because it's Ed the Dark and Gordon the Gopher, and like half of you have no idea who that is. And the whole time I'm like, oh, hey, cool. Oh, it's Zig and Zag. Oh, it's those wolves that were the kids' Muppets when I was 16 and everything was awful. And I was like, oh, but this is nice and nostalgic. And Jesus fucking Christ, it's Mr. Blobby. And
we do not have sufficient content warnings in the chat for Mr. Blobby right now. That is correct.
And he is the offal in the ice cream sundae. He is blasphemous in his wrongness.
It takes a special kind of evil to be in a video that also has Zelda from Terrorhawks and clearly be the villain of the piece.
Zelda from Terrorhawks being this scorpionical granny who lived on Mars with her family. With her family, and were opposed by a group of puppets, one of whom could clone himself over and over, and a Welsh sphere robot that had lots of other robots. In the end was Norton Cross's.
Did you say Welsh sphere?
Sphere was a globular robot.
What made him Welsh?
The fact that he was voiced by a very famous Welsh character actor. With apologies to the entire Welsh nation.
I was going to say, did he have a dragon on the side?
I think he may have done.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Okay. Big Finish revived
Oh,
it?
Jesus Christ, they did, didn't they? They fucking revived Terrorhawks. Why, Nick? Why? I don't say that often. God, I think I've got it. I should probably get around to listening to that.
Okay, with your headphones on, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Don't subject me to that, please.
So anyway, we're going to do a story.
What's new this week, honey? That we haven't talked about already. You've been casting another audio drama, which is amazing. I've been casting another
audio drama. Nano Plano has finally finished, which was me writing out a big long list of all the things in the book that suck.
And now that you can make them unsuck. Exactly.
With all my copious spare time.
Don't look at me, man. I ain't got any to spare either.
There is a bit of a celestial navigation situation going on at the moment. But can't quite talk about that, and it might not be anything.
We have new emojis. I'm getting a celestial navigation emoji.
I did a journalism, and it was really tiring.
Yes, it was. I know.
And I had to do it again, because of the whole thing with Star Trek Discovery being arbitrarily taken off Netflix, because money. And it has now been untaken off some services, and it's
because more money.
Because more money.
I don't know.
So there was that, and I think that's possibly. Oh yeah, I hurt my knee, which really sucks.
Yeah, you banged your knee out.
I pranged my knee about a week ago, and I'm
scientific term. Pranged.
I'm basically fine, but I'm also still a bit limpy, and it was the knee which I had hurt for me over a decade ago, and so I'm a little anxious.
It's okay. It will be okay.
It will be okay. And if it isn't, then, I'll just have like a really cool cane or something.
You're not. I don't think you're anywhere near the point where you would need a cane. I think you need to rest, and we're nowhere near
not doing
that either. Exactly.
Oh, rhubarb and custard. Ducky, if you possibly can, drop
Good night, Four Rats. Have a good evening.
If you possibly can, drop the theme tune to that in the show notes, because
Please
it is
don't.
what I believe the kids have referred to as a banger.
You were an adventurer. You took an arrow to the knee. Naomi is correct.
I was an adventurer and I took an arrow to the knee. Exactly.
That's yes. Fine. All right. Do you want to read a scary story now?
Go on then, seeing as you asked.
Okay. I'm going to get out of the way and let you read the scary story. And I will make it... Look, I made a button for you. We're going to show the cool transition I got.
Not only is the theme tune a banger, but there was in fact a successful novelty record over here when I was a teenager, which was an EDM version of it, with one of the people from Radio 1's super popular afternoon show periodically saying, "Rhubarb and custard let fly with their secret weapon."
Okay, that's the version I want in the stream show notes. I want the EDM version of the Rhubarb and custard song. That sounds like something I would actually get around to it. Right, I'm going to get out of the way.
Okay.
Do you need any buttons? No, you don't need any buttons.
I'm very Star Trek captain-y in this chair.
I know! You like it! Exactly.
The hell is that? Probably shooter.
No.
Hello?
Red thing.
Red thing. What the hell's red thing?
Where's my big name red thing? Right. All right. Okay. Let me get out of the way. All right. Give me my chair. This is very scientific. If I had more time, we might have actually arranged for a picture-in-picture, but not today. Now you have to go all the way.
Here we go. Right. Is your monitor touchscreen?
No.
I'm all adrift. I've got nothing.
This is a mouse.
Oh, I apparently have a thing.
Here, okay, with the stuff and the story. There you go. I love you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, baby. I love you. All right, you get comfortable, and I'll get started.
In fact, the chat should probably get comfortable.
That is the last thing. We're about to start off the short story. 10:40. That's a new record. I'm really impressed. Get comfortable. Get hydrated. Get a snack. Any meds you need, then please take them. If you have pets that need to be fed or watered, or anything like that, then please go do that. We'll give you a minute to do it, and then
I'm gonna go get one of the Welsh cakes.
Could you get 2 of the Welsh cakes?
You can have one at the break.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
How about that? We'll have Welsh cakes at the break.
I love you.
I love you too.
All right. Let's do a thing. I just made my housemate stop reading TV license threat letters to me for story time. Beastrogen, I do hope everything's all right. And I actually used to have family members who were in the position of receiving threatening TV license letters. And I will tell you what they told me about how they were able to stop them. And they stopped them by getting one and marking it return to sender and putting the letter that they had been sent in there and writing, "Incoming language warning, fuck off," sideways up them in red Sharpie. They never received any more correspondence. Right, I like that one. The Floor Above by M L Humphreys. September 17th, 1922. I sat down to breakfast this morning with a good appetite. The heat seemed over, and a cool wind blew in from my garden, where chrysanthemums were already budding. The sunshine streamed into the room and fell pleasantly on Mrs. O'Brien's broad face as she brought in the eggs and coffee. For a supposedly lonely old bachelor, the world seemed to me a pretty good place. I was buttering my 3rd set of waffles when the housekeeper again appeared, this time with the mail. I glanced carelessly at the 3 or 4 letters beside my plate. One of them bore a strangely familiar handwriting. I gazed at it a minute, and then I seized it with a beating heart, and tears almost came into my eyes. There was no doubt about it at all. It was Arthur Barker's handwriting. Shaky, changed, to be sure, but 10 years have passed since I have seen Arthur, or rather, since his mysterious disappearance. For 10 years, I have not had a word from him. His people know no more than I what has become of him, and long ago we gave him up for dead. He vanished without leaving a trace behind him, and it seemed to me too that with him vanished, so too did the lost shreds of my youth. Arthur was my dearest friend in that happy time. We were boon companions, and many a mad prank we played together. And now, after 10 years of silence, Arthur was writing to me. The envelope was marked Baltimore, almost reluctantly, for I feared what it might contain. I passed my finger under the flap, and I opened it. It held a single sheet of paper torn from a pad. But it was Arthur's writing. Dear Tom, old man, can you run down to see me for a few days? I'm afraid I'm in a bad way. Arthur. Scrolled across the bottom was the address, 536N Marathon Street. I have often visited Baltimore, but I cannot recall a street of that name. Of course I shall go, but what a strange letter, after 10 years. There is something almost uncanny about it. I shall go tomorrow evening. I cannot possibly go off before then. September 18th. I am leaving tonight. Mrs. O'Brien has packed my 2 suitcases and everything is in readiness for my departure. 10 minutes ago I handed her the keys and she went off tearfully. She has been sniffling all day and I have been perplexed, for a curious thing occurred this morning. It was about Arthur's letter. Yesterday, when I had finished reading it, I took it to my desk and placed it in a small compartment together with other personal papers. I remember distinctly that it was on top, with a lavender card from my sister directly underneath. This morning I went to get it. It was gone. There was the lavender card exactly where I had seen it, but Arthur's letter had completely disappeared. I turned everything upside down. I called Mrs. O'Brien, and we both searched, but in vain. Mrs. O'Brien, in spite of all I could say, took it upon herself to feel that I suspected her, but what could have become of it? Fortunately, I remembered the address. September 19th. I have arrived. I have seen Arthur. Even now he is in the next room, and I am supposed to be preparing for bed, but something tells me I shall not sleep a wink this night. I am strangely wrought up. Though there is not the shadow of an excuse for my excitement, I should be rejoicing to have my friend again. And yet, I reached Baltimore this morning at 11 o'clock. The day was warm and beautiful, and I loitered outside the station a few minutes before calling a taxi. The driver seemed well acquainted with the street I gave him, and we rolled off across the bridge. As I drew near my destination, I began to feel anxious, afraid. But the ride lasted longer than I expected. Marathon Street seemed to be located in the suburbs of the city. At last we turned into a dusty street, paved only in patches and lined with linden and aspen trees. The fallen leaves crunched beneath the tires. The September sun beat down with a white intensity. The taxi drew up before a house in the middle of a block that boasted not more than 6 dwellings. On each side of the house was a vacant lot, and it was set far back at the end of a long, narrow yard, crowded with trees. I paid the driver, I opened the gate, and I went in. The trees were so thick that not until I was halfway up the path did I get a good view of the house. It was 3 stories high, built of brick in fairly good repair, but lonely and deserted looking. The blinds were closed in all of the windows, with the exception of 2, one on the first, one on the second floor. Not a sign of life anywhere, not a cat, not a milk bottle to break the monotony of leaves that carpeted the porch. But overcoming my feeling of uneasiness, I resolutely set my suitcases on the porch, caught at the old-fashioned bell, and gave an energetic jerk. A startling peal jangled through the silence, and I waited there. But there was no answer. After a minute, I rang again. Then, from the interior, I heard a queer dragging sound, as if someone was coming slowly down the hall. The knob was turned, and the door opened. I saw before me an old woman, wrinkled, withered, filmy-eyed, who leaned on a crutch. "Does Mr. Barker live here?" I asked. She nodded, staring at me in a curious way, but made no move to invite me in. "Well, I've come to see him," I said. "I'm a friend of his. He sent this to me. He sent for me." At that, she drew slightly aside. "He's upstairs," she said in a cracked voice that was little more than a whisper. "I can't show you up. I haven't been up a stair now in 10 years. "That's all right," I replied, and seizing my suitcases, I strode down the long hall. "At the end of the steps," came the whispering voice behind me. "The door at the end of the hall." I climbed the cold, dark stairway, passed along the short hall at the top, stood before a closed door. I knocked. "Come in." It was Arthur's voice, and yet not his. I opened the door, and I saw Arthur sitting on a couch, his shoulders hunched over, his eyes raised to mine. After all, 10 years had not changed him so much. As I remembered him, he was of medium height, inclined to be stout and ruddy-faced, with keen grey eyes. He was still stout, but had lost his colour, and his eyes had dulled. "And where have you been all this time?" I demanded when the first greetings were over. "Here," he answered. "In this house?" "Yes." "But why didn't you let us hear from you?" He seemed to be making an effort to speak. What did it matter? I didn't suppose anyone cared. Perhaps it was my imagination, but I could not get rid of the thought that Arthur's eyes, fixed tenaciously upon my face, were trying to tell me something quite different from what his lips said. I felt chilled. Although the blinds were open, the room was almost darkened by the branches of the trees that pressed against the window. Arthur had not given me his hand, had seemed troubled to know how to make me welcome. Yet of one thing I was certain: he needed me, and he wanted me to know he needed me. As I took a chair, I glanced about the room. It was a typical lodging house room. Medium-sized, flowered wallpaper, worn matting, nondescript rugs, a washstand in one corner, a chiffonier in another, a table in the centre, 2 or 3 chairs, and a couch which evidently served Arthur as a bed. But it was cold, strangely cold for such a warm day. Arthur's eyes had wandered uneasily to my suitcases. He made an effort to drag himself to his feet. "Your room is back here," he said, with a motion of his thumb. "No, wait," I protested. "Let's talk about yourself first. What's wrong?" "I've been sick." "Haven't you a doctor? If not, I'll get one." At this, he started up with the first sign of animation he had shown. "No, Tom, don't do it. Doctors can't help me now. Besides, I hate them. I'm afraid of them." His voice trailed away, and I took pity on his agitation. I decided to let the question of doctors drop. For the moment. "As you say," I assented carelessly. Without more ado, I followed him into my room, which adjoined his and was furnished in much the same fashion. But there were 2 windows, one on each side, looking out on the vacant lot. Consequently, there was more light, for which I was thankful. In a far corner, I noticed a door, heavily bolted. "There's one more room," said Arthur as I deposited my belongings. "One that you'll like. But we'll have to go through the bathroom." Groping our way through the musty bathroom, in which a tiny jet of gas was flickering, we stepped into a large, almost luxurious chamber. It was a library, well furnished, carpeted, and surrounded by shelves fairly bulging with books, but for the chilliness and bad light, it was perfect. As I moved about, Arthur followed me with his eyes. There are some rare works on botany. I'd already discovered them, a set of books that would have given much to own. I could not contain my joy. You won't be so bored browsing around in here. In spite of my preoccupation, I pricked up my ears at that. In that monotonous voice, there was no sympathy with my joy. It was cold. I'm tired. When I had satisfied my curiosity, we returned to the front room, and Arthur flung himself, or rather fell, upon the couch. It was nearly 5 o'clock and quite dark. As I lighted the gas, I heard a sound below as of somebody thumping on the wall. That's the old woman, Arthur explained. She cooks my meals, but she's too lame to bring them up. He made a feeble attempt at rising, but I saw he was worn out. Don't you stir, I warned him. I'll bring up your food tonight. To my surprise, I found the dinner appetizing and well cooked, and in spite of the fact that I did not like the looks of the old woman, I ate with relish. Arthur barely touched a few spoonfuls of soup to his lips and absently crumbled some bread in his plate. Directly, I had carried off the dishes. He wrapped his reddish-brown dressing gown about him, stretched out at full length on the couch, and asked me to turn out the gas. When I had complied with his request, I again heard his weak voice, asking if I had everything I needed. Everything, I assured him, and there was unbroken silence. I went to my room, finally closed the door, and here I am, sitting restlessly between the two back windows that look out on those vacant lots. I have unpacked my clothes. I have turned down the bed, but I cannot make up my mind to retire. If the truth be told, I hate to put out the light. There is something disturbing in the way the dry leaves tap on the panes. My heart is sad when I think of Arthur. I have found an old friend, but he is no longer my old friend. Why does he fix his pale eyes so strangely on my face? What does he wish to tell me? But these are morbid thoughts. I will put them out of my head. I will go to bed and get a good night's rest, and tomorrow I will wake up finding everything right and as it should be. September 26th. I have been here a week today, and have settled down to this queer existence as if I had never known another. The day after my arrival, I discovered that the third volume of the botanical series was done in Latin, which I have set myself the task of translating. It is absorbing work, and when I have buried myself in one of the deep chairs by the library table, the hours fly fast. For health's sake, I force myself to walk a few miles every day. I have tried to prevail on Arthur to do likewise, but he, who used to be so active, now refuses to budge from the house. No wonder he is literally blue, for he is. It is a fact that his complexion and the shadows about his eyes and temples are decidedly blue. What does he do with himself all day? Whenever I enter his room, he is lying on the couch, a book beside him which he never reads. He does not seem to suffer pain, for he never complains. After several ineffectual attempts to get medical aid for him, I have given up mentioning the subject of doctor. I feel that his trouble is more mental than it is physical. September 28th. A rainy day. It has been coming down in floods since dawn, and I got a queer turn this afternoon. As I could not get out from my walk, I spent the morning staging a general house cleaning. It was time. Dust and dirt everywhere. The bathroom, which has no windows and is lighted by gas, was fairly overrun with water bugs and roaches. Of course, I did not penetrate Arthur's room, but I heard no sound from him as I swept and dusted. I made a good dinner and settled down in the library, feeling quite cosy. The rain came down steadily and it had grown so cold, I decided to make a fire later on, but once I had gathered my tablets and notebooks about me, I forgot the cold. I remember I was on the subject of the Astrotrifolium, a rare variety seldom found in this country. Turning a page, I came upon a specimen of this very variety, dried, pressed flat, and pasted to the margin. Above it, in Arthur's handwriting, I read, September 27th, 1912. I was bending close to examine it when I felt a vague fear. It seemed to me that someone was in the room. Someone was watching me. Yet I had not heard the door open nor seen anyone enter. I turned sharply, and I saw Arthur, wrapped in his reddish-brown dressing gown, standing at my very elbow. He was smiling. He was smiling for the first time since my arrival, and his dull eyes were bright, but I did not like that smile. In spite of myself, I jerked away from him. He pointed at the aster. It grew in the front yard under a linden tree. I found it yesterday. Yesterday, I shouted, my nerves on edge. Good Lord, man! Look! It was 10 years ago. The smile faded from his face. 10 years ago, he repeated thickly. 10 years ago. Five o'clock. Dusk is falling. Oh God, what has come over me? Am I the same man that went out of this house 3 hours ago? And what has happened? I had a splendid walk. I was striding homeward in a fine glow, but as I turned the corner and came in sight of the house, it was as if I looked at death itself. I could hardly drag myself up the stairs, and when I peered into the shadowy chamber and saw the man hunched up on the couch with his eyes fixed intently on my face, I could have screamed like a woman. I wanted to fly, to rush out into the clear cold air and run, to run and never come back, but I controlled myself, forced my feet to carry me to my room. There is a weight of hopelessness at my heart. The darkness is advancing, swallowing up everything, but I have not the will to light the gas. Now there is a flicker in the front room. I am a fool. I must pull myself together. Arthur is lighting up, and downstairs I can hear the thumping that announces dinner. It is a queer thought that comes to me now, but it is odd I have not noticed it before. We are about to sit down to our evening meal. Arthur will eat practically nothing, for he has no appetite, yet he remains stout. It cannot be healthy fat, but even at that it seems to me that a man who eats as little as he does would become a living skeleton. October 5th. Positively, I must see a doctor about myself, or soon I shall be a nervous wreck. I am acting like a child. Last night I lost all control, and I played the coward. I had gone to bed early, tired out from a hard day's work. It was raining again, and as I lay in bed, I watched the little rivulets trickling down the panes. Lulled by the sighing of the wind among the leaves, I fell asleep. I woke, how long afterward I cannot say, to feel a cold hand laid on my arm. For a moment I lay paralyzed with terror. I would have cried aloud, but I had no voice. At last I managed to sit up to shake the hand off. I reached for the matches, and I lighted the gas, and it was Arthur who stood by my bed. Arthur wrapped in his eternal reddish-brown dressing gown. He was excited. His blue face had a yellow tinge. His eyes gleamed in the light. "Listen," he whispered. I listened, but I heard nothing. "Don't you hear it?" He gasped and he pointed upwards. Upstairs?" I stammered. Is there somebody upstairs?" I strained my ears, and at last I fancied I could hear a fugitive sound, like the light tapping of footsteps. "It must be somebody walking about up there," I suggested. "No!" he cried in a sharp, rasping voice. "No, it is nobody walking about up there." And he fled into his room. For a long time I lay trembling, afraid to move, but at last, fearing for Arthur, I got up and I crept to his door. He was lying on the couch with his face in the moonlight, apparently asleep. October 6th. I had a talk with Arthur today. Yesterday I could not bring myself to speak of the previous night's happening, but all of this nonsense must be cleared away. We were in the library. A fire was burning in the grate, and Arthur had his feet on the fender. The slippers he wears are as objectionable to me as his dressing gown. They are felt slippers, old and worn, frayed around the edges as if they had been gnawed by rats. I cannot imagine why he does not get a new pair. "Stay, old man," I began abruptly. "Do you own this house?" He nodded. "Don't you rent any of it?" "Downstairs. To Mrs. Harlan." "But upstairs?" He hesitated, then shook his head. "No, it's inconvenient. There's only a peculiar way to get upstairs." I was struck by this. "By Jove, you're right. Where's the staircase?" He looked me full in the eyes. "Don't you remember seeing a bolted door in the corner of your room?" "The staircase runs from that door." I did remember it, and somehow the memory made me uncomfortable. I said no more and decided not to refer to what had happened that night. It occurred to me, as I did, that Arthur might have been walking in his sleep. October 8th. When I went for my walk on Tuesday, I dropped in and saw Dr. Lorraine, who is an old friend. He expressed some surprise at my rundown condition and wrote me a prescription. I am planning to go home next week. How pleasant it will be to walk in my garden and listen to Mrs. O'Brien singing in the kitchen. October 9th. Perhaps I had better postpone my trip. I casually mentioned it to Arthur this morning, and he was lying relaxed on the sofa. But when I spoke of leaving, he sat up straight as a bolt. His eyes fairly blazed. "No, Tom, don't go!" There was terror in his voice and such pleading that it wrung my heart. "You've stood it alone here 10 years, I protested. "And now it's not that," he said. "But if you go, you will never come back." "Is that all the faith you have in me?" "I have faith, Tom. But if you go, you'll never come back." I decided that I must humour the vagaries of a sick man. "All right," I agreed. "I'll not go. Anyway, not for some time." October 12th. What is it that hangs over this house like a cloud? For I can no longer deny that there is something indescribably oppressive. It seems to pervade the whole neighbourhood. Are all the houses on this block vacant? If not, why do I never see children playing in the street? Why are passers-by so rare? And why, when from the front window I do catch a glimpse of one, is he hastening away as fast as possible? I am feeling blue again. I know that I need a change. And this morning I told Arthur definitely that I was going. To my surprise, he made no objection. In fact, he murmured a word of assent and smiled. He smiled as he smiled in the library that morning when he pointed at the Aster trifolium, and I don't like that smile. Anyway, it is settled. I shall go next week, Thursday the 19th. October 13th. I had a strange dream last night. Or was it a dream? It was so vivid. All day long I have been seeing it over and over again. In my dream, I thought that I was lying there in my bed. The moon was shining brightly into the room so that each piece of furniture stood out distinctly. The bureau is so placed that when I am lying on my back with my head high on the pillow, I can see full into the mirror. I thought I was lying in this manner and staring into the mirror, and in this way, I saw the bolted door in the far corner of the room. I tried to keep my mind off it, to think of something else, but it drew my eyes like a magnet. It seemed to me that someone was in the room. A vague figure that I could not recognize. It approached the door and caught at the bolts. It dragged at them and struggled, but in vain. They would not give way. This figure, it turned and showed me its agonized face, and it was Arthur. I recognized his reddish-brown dressing gown. I sat up in bed and cried to him, but he was gone. I ran to his room, and there he was, stretched out in the moonlight, asleep. It must have been a dream. October 15th. We are having Indian summer weather now, almost oppressively warm. I've been wandering about all day, unable to settle down to anything. This morning, I felt so lonesome that when I took the breakfast dishes down, I tried to strike up a conversation with Mrs. Holland. Hitherto, I have found her as solemn and uncommunicative as the Sphinx, but as she took the tray from my hands, her wrinkles broke into the semblance of a smile. Positively at that moment, it seemed to me that she resembled Arthur. Was it her smile or the expression of her eyes? Has she also something to tell me? Don't you get lonesome here? I asked her sympathetically. She shook her head. No, sir. I'm used to it now. I couldn't stand it anywhere else. And do you expect to go on living here the rest of your life? It may not be very long, sir. Her words were simple enough, but the way she looked at me when she uttered them seemed to give them a double meaning. She hobbled away, and I went upstairs and wrote Mrs. O'Brien to expect me early on the morning of the 19th. October 18th, 10 a.m. I'm catching the 12 o'clock train tonight. Thank God I had the resolution to get away. I believe another week of this life would drive me mad, and perhaps Arthur is right. Perhaps I shall never come back. I ask myself if I have become such a weakling as that, to desert him when he needs me most. I don't know. I don't recognize myself any longer. But of course, I'll be back. There's the translation, for one thing, which is coming along famously. I can never forgive myself for dropping it at the most vital point. As for Arthur, when I return, I intend to give in to him no longer. I will make myself master here, and I will cure him against his will. Fresh air, change of scene, a good doctor, these are the things he needs. But what is his malady? Is it the influence of this house that has fallen on him like a blight? One might imagine so, since it's having the same effect on me. Yes, I have reached that point where I no longer sleep. At night I lie awake and I try to keep my eyes off the mirror across the room, but in the end I always find myself staring into it. I always find myself watching the door with the heavy bolts. I long to rise from the bed and draw back the bolts, but I'm afraid. How slowly the day goes by. The night will never come. 9 p.m. I've packed my suitcases and put the room in order. Arthur must be asleep. I'm afraid the parting from him will be painful. I shall leave here at 11 o'clock in order to give myself plenty of time. It is beginning to rain. October 19th. At last it has come. I am mad. I knew it. I felt it creeping on me all the time. Have I not lived in this house a month? Have I not seen? To have seen what I have seen, to have lived for a month as I have lived, one must be mad. It was 10 o'clock. I was waiting impatiently for that last hour to pass. I had seated myself in a rocking chair by the bed, my suitcases beside me, my back to the mirror. The rain no longer fell. I must have dozed off. But all at once I was wide awake, my heart beating furiously. Something had touched me. I leapt to my feet, and as I turned sharply, my eyes fell upon the mirror. In it I saw the door, just as I had seen it the other night, and the figure fumbling with the bolt. I wheeled around, but there was nothing there. I told myself I was dreaming, again, that Arthur was asleep in his bed, but I trembled as I opened the door of his room and peered in. The room was empty. The bed not even crumpled. Lighting a match, I groped my way through the bathroom into the library. The moon had come from under a cloud and was pouring in a silvery flood through the windows, but Arthur was not there. I stumbled back into my room. The moon was there too, and the door. The door in the corner was half open. The bolt had been drawn. In the darkness, I could just make out a flight of steps that wound upward. I could no longer hesitate. Striking another match, I climbed the back stairway. When I reached the top, I found myself in total darkness, for the blinds were tightly closed. Realizing that the room was probably a duplicate of the one below, I felt along the wall until I came to the gas jet. For a moment, the flame flickered, then burned, bright and clear. Oh God, what was it I saw? A table thick with dust and something wrapped in a reddish-brown dressing gown that sat with its elbows propped upon it. How long had it been sitting there, that it had grown more dry than the dust upon the table? For how many thousands of days and nights had the flesh rotted from that grinning skull? In its bony fingers it still clutched a pencil. In front of it lay a sheet of scratched paper, yellow with age. With trembling fingers I brushed away the dust. It was dated October 19th, 1912. It read, Dear Tom, old man, can you run down to see me for a few days? I'm afraid I'm in a bad way. I like that one.
Read thee about the author at the bottom.
M L Humphreys appears to be one of the many obscure writers who worked briefly in the pulps, or perhaps the name is a pseudonym used once and discarded. Nothing could be found about this author beyond the fact that this story, the only one with this byline, was selected by Providence, Rhode Island's premier Celine Dion impersonator H.P. Lovecraft in 1929 and 1930, when he compiled a list of significant horror stories incorporating both literary fiction and popular stories. The list was published as H.P. Lovecraft's favourite weird tales, The Roots of Modern Horror, and the criterion for being included was that the stories must have the greatest amount of truly cosmic horror and macabre convincingness. Now, I cannot stand Lovecraft the man. I enjoy some of his fiction, but even I will freely admit macabre convincingness is one hell of a phrase. The narrator for this, by the way, for Pseudopod, is a friend of ours. Dave Robertson is an avid literary and sonic alchemist who pursues a wide range of creative explorations. A brainstormer, keeper of the buttery man voice, patent pending. Pattern seeker, dream weaver, and eternal optimist, Dave's efforts to boost the awesomeness of the world can be found at the Round Table podcast, the Vex Mosaic e-zine, and through his creative studio, Wonder Thing. Dave is the creator of Archivos, an online story development and presentation app, as well as the curator of the Palathos Patreon feed, where he explores a fantasy megacity, one street at a time. Dave is one of the nicest people I've ever met.
He and Kareem are very good friends.
Yes, they are. The joke about H.P. Lovecraft being a Celine Dion impersonator is me being very cruel.
Is you being Ryan Reynolds.
Yes. Lovecraft, or as we know him now, Mark Zuckerberg, has a very long face. Has a long face. And
he's just making it up.
I'm just fucking with him, basically.
Yeah. What you gonna do about it, Lovecraft? Huh?
Still not touching. Still, you can't see me.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Dave is a very accomplished narrator. He's quite good. He has some really good stuff.
He's effortlessly good.
You don't know if it's effortless.
He's effortlessly good.
He's good.
We
go. He's very talented. He words good. He speaks words good. I don't believe he writes, but yeah, Dave's a good guy. So
I just saw
when
Wendy's,
he's all,
and that's going in the freezer overnight so we can sleep.
Make sure all the stairways in the house tonight have the door closed and bolted in front of them.
Yes.
Or you'll find out that, your dear friend who wrote you a letter 10 years ago is actually dead up in the attic. And I love that so little is explained.
I know, right? Just what is he? What is it? Is it just like an echo? Is the area tainted in some way? It's just so many ways that you could take that. I really like it.
I'm just not going to dwell too much on it because it gets a little... Our stairs have no door. Oh, Wendy! Oh, no. Okay, you need a tripwire. You need the Santa Claus trap. You need a tripwire and a tin can or something this evening.
Yeah, Rebesco, I'm right there with you. And along that note, if you want to see Lovecraftian cosmic horror done extremely well, anything by Premi Mohammed is a really good place to start.
Or Cassandra Khaw.
Or any one of a legion of people that Lovecraft would have recoiled in horror from, that now do horror better than he does.
Yes, it's glorious, isn't it?
Yes.
Shall we take a quick break?
Let's take a quick break and have a Welsh cake.
Okay, we will have a Welsh cake. Why don't you push the button that says be right back? But first tell everybody we'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
that one, thanks T Holding. So that one worked. It's just the other one didn't. All right.
Thank you, T Holding, and also thank you, chat. I trust you folks so much
to pick up on the subtext of that story, right?
I'm so happy that Beestrogen, you just jumped straight to Then Who Was Phone. Right. Are you familiar with Then Who Was Phone?
No.
Then Who Was Phone is the best, worst creepypasta ever written. It's like 3 lines long, and the punchline is Then Who Was Phone.
Okay. You will have to find that and then maybe read it on the stream, because we could use some more creepypasta. That sounds pretty good.
A gay lich is secretly in love with his best friend and brings him to his house where the walls are papered with blotter acid, and he can't quite get around to asking him out. I think that's basically the entire story.
Oh, thank you, Wendell. Wendell's, what an important resource this is.
Late breaking news.
Knowyourmeme.com. Why did I not just assume this website existed? Then Who Was Phone?
Then Who Was Phone, usually capitalized, is a catchphrase associated with a subtype of creepypasta stories that are poorly written or unintentionally funny.
And I'm trying to get back. There we go.
Most typically seen on 4chan's /X paranormal board, the phrase bears some resemblance to other grammatically incorrect memes like I accidentally or how do I shot web.
Okay.
And we actually have the entirety of the meme up top there. This was posted, the original creepypasta was posted via X Paranormal on March 28th, 2008. Anonymous. So, you're with your honey and you're making out when the phone rings. You answer it and the voice is, what are you doing with my daughter? You tell your girl and she say, my dad is dead. Then who was phone?
Okay. Wow. Okay, fine. Then who was? Yes, it was the guy in the mask from the Scream movies. That's who it was. That's what I.
Oh, I get you one of those. I still haven't seen Scream 4. I've only waited several decades. That paid off.
Don't rush. Is what I'm saying. All right. Where am I? What am I doing? I should push some buttons.
What was it that I showed you the trailer for? You just looked at me and went, £5 chocolate bar.
Superman's dog, voiced by The Rock. Also, it has Kevin Hart in it, and no.
Tough on Kevin Hart. Tough on the causes of Kevin Hart.
Right, it's that meme. No, no, pass. Thanks.
Whereas,
that I was literally like, here's your £5 and a chocolate bar. You may go see this movie. Leave me alone.
Whereas Channing Tatum heals his PTSD whilst also healing his amazing new doggo's PTSD.
That movie is going to make me weep ugly tears. Oh my gosh, I'm going to so ugly cry my way through that movie.
There's a movie coming out very soon called Dog.
JJ, don't do that. I have like, I think a gig worth of zip files of all the versions of that song that were ever made, and someday, like Pandora's box, it will be unleashed back into the world. Yes, it does sound very much like, but who was phone sounds like King Shark trying to write a creepypasta.
Ghost? Really? Yeah. So smart me. Very little in that movie is more endearing than him wandering in right before the boss fight, chewing on a bit of bad guy, just idly going, hey!
Just...
Indestructible shock, dude. I'm alright, everybody.
Yes. Okay. You ready for some shenanigans?
Let's do it!
Shall we do some shenanigans, everybody? Here we go. Content warning for the shenanigans are socio-political themes, just so you know.
Like satire, but not creatively moribund.
I cut off the link for the content warnings. Hang on a second. I apologize.
It's alright. I just used the word moribund in common usage, so I should probably sit here and think about what I've done.
You should, because I haven't had time to
fecundity.
Remonstrate with you about
moribund. Remonstrate.
Just...
Recalcitrant.
Oh,
Salador.
Whilst. I was going to say whilst, and I hate that word. Where's my keyboard?
Marguerite is looking for her keyboard.
You may not Cabbage Patch on the stream. I forbid it. Oh my god, he's unstoppable. He's just completely unstoppable now. Okay, there's the shenanigans. There's a link to the content warnings. Again, we're talking socio-political themes a little bit in this shenanigan. And I will start it off because you're too busy juggling your water bottle, apparently.
I'm Tom Cruise. She's not crazy.
Alright.
You may continue.
I can't hear that word without hearing the Peter Gabriel song.
Moribund the Bürgermeister, yes. There's an entire Peter Gabriel song about how hard it is being a Bürgermeister in a small Stadt in Germany in like the 18th century, I think, or the 16th.
Releases pack of dads into Home Depot. Go. Be free.
Invasive species encroach on lesbian territory.
There's a common misconception because they're such similar environments. But you should be aware that dads are native to Home Depot, while lesbians are actually native to Lowe's. At this point, however, both dads and lesbians have made themselves at home in both Home Depot and Lowe's, to the point that trying to separate them back into their original ranges would probably do more harm than good to the delicate ecosystem of large chain hardware stores.
A properly raised and socialized dad will be perfectly comfortable cohabiting with lesbians. It's not really encroaching on another's territory. You wouldn't say that about foxes in a forest that also homes bobcats, would you? No. It's just two different species that have both evolved to live in similar/the same environment. As long as they recognize each other as equals, dads and lesbians are more than capable of cohabitation. Now, if you were to release a pack of lumberjacks into a Lowe's or Home Depot, that's where chaos will reign. Being adapted to a far harsher and more demanding environment, the lumberjacks would simply push dads and lesbians both out, and also consume far more than a sustainable amount of resources. It would be like releasing bears at a country club.
As a former timber harvester, I feel this is potentially accurate in theory, but highly improbable in actuality. Lumberjacks, like most megafauna species, generally require more space than the average hardware store. Even a big box store could provide. The misconception is that lumberjacks are a social species because of how often they work and live together. This is a matter of necessity, not preference, and a survival technique for thriving under the log boss.
Log boss!
A pack of lumberjacks, if not under the environmental pressures of a log boss, will naturally disperse until they each have a wide territory. One-on-one, a lumberjack could drive out a dad or a lesbian. However, the latter tend to travel in social packs. Lumberjacks will passively retreat on the presence of large numbers of people, kind of like Sasquatch. Getting a pack of lumberjacks assembled would be hard enough unless they were forced into a hardware store by a log boss. In that case, they would already be in a heightened and potentially agitated state far above their natural behavior. This artificial scenario can be likened to a circus animal running amok. If it had been in the wild, the incident would not have occurred. Free-roaming lumberjacks are the cryptids of the hardware ecosystem. They are surprisingly quiet and not obtrusive. Please stop labeling lumberjacks as dangerous roving social predators. They are intermediate-level omnivores and remarkably peaceful unless threatened.
As a hardware store worker, I can say that this is all 100% accurate.
Now, how in the fuck am I supposed to leave Tumblr when a god-tier post like this is just waiting for me daily?
Question: where does the art student or DIY crafter or soap maker or miniaturist, etc., who has ventured into the store for supplies fall into the ecosystem? And what is their impact on said ecosystem?
Most of the above are native to craft and hobby stores. Art students historically are native to museums, but having been introduced to hobby stores have found a niche for themselves and thrived. But all can be seen in hardware stores on occasion due to territorial overlap. There are generally low impact as they tend to stick to specific small areas and primarily utilize different resources. While a large group of any of them can be disruptive, art students in particular are known to travel in packs. In general, they are more likely to have territorial disputes with one another than with the local fauna. A point of clarity, crafter is a bit misleading. While it conjures a specific image, much like fish or reptile, it actually covers a broad array covers a broad array of wildly disparate species, and in general, more descriptive nomenclature is preferred. I love that sentence. Fiber artists in particular are a genus to watch out for, particularly in groups. Beware a roving pack of domesticated quilters. They fear nothing, will go anywhere, and due to their social nature, will often seek interaction from other species that thrive best in solitude. They are quite friendly and will happily adopt members of other species. The concern is that their adoptees do not always wish to be adopted.
Hashtag in search of taxonomic precision and peaceful coexistence.
I do wonder how lesbian / bisexual / lumberjack mimicry fits into this.
Now, I can say as a former craft store worker that if you wish to see true fear, look into the eyes of a dad who must venture into a craft store. Despite the overlap of familiar beings known to him from his native hardware store habitat, dads are instinctively aware that craft stores are not for them. They contain unfamiliar perils, and even the seemingly familiar may have strange variances and unnerving secrets. Why is this airbrush so small? What do you mean nails? Why would you... What? Only experienced silverbacks are the boldest young dads dare venture into a craft store for long without his male or offspring to keep roving craft ladies at bay and guide him in this strange ecosystem. If a dad enters with his mate and is separated from her, he will often scuttle to the seeming familiarity of woodcraft models or paints, the latter not to be confused with fine arts, unquestioned territory of art students. But he eyes scrapbooking and jewellery with trepidation, and will usually venture into these exotic areas only in the company of females of his pack. Lumberjacks are rarely spotted entering craft stores of their own volition. While they do not fear it as dads do, they know it is an environment unsuited for megafauna such as themselves. Hardware store lesbians generally adapt more easily to craft stores, though they may enlist another lesbian of a subspecies more adapted to that environment to guide them until they find their niche. Lesbians have even been known to seek the aid of a craft lady, a native fauna that shares similarities with lesbians, but are usually smaller and nimbler to suit their chosen habitat. Dads who witness this are often awed by the lesbian's temerity, for although larger, dads are generally wary of the cunning and dexterous craft ladies, and may mistake their enthusiastic pack greetings as predatory swarming. Craft ladies secure in their ecological niche have no fear of interlopers and take the presence of non-native beings in stride, although they may become territorial about scarcer resources. The only truly invasive species that threaten craft stores are brides-to-be, who are mere annoyances individually, but like locusts may descend in hordes and lay waste, leaving swathes of destruction in their wake. Fortunately for the craft ladies, brides-to-be are seasonal and usually only a threat in the spring and early summer.
Okay, I used to work at a fabric store, and they've missed a category, so I'm dying to see if it's going to come up. This is hilarious. It got better.
Man, nobody's even mentioned the territorial rivalry between knitter and crocheter subspecies yet.
Seriously. Guys, knitter and crocheter subspecies are naturally armed, either with pinions or hooks, and their battles for resources are legendary.
The idea of inherent enmity between knitters and crocheters is a common misconception. But, much like hierarchical wolf-pack dynamics, hostility between these subspecies seems to occur only in captivity or under unusual stresses. In their native ecosystems, these two closely related populations rarely advance beyond threat displays over territorial boundaries. When food and nesting materials are plentiful, they have even been known to establish joint colonies, sharing resources and helping tend each other's young. Hybrid offspring, while rare, have been observed in the wild. It is unknown whether these hybrids are capable of reproducing, but if they are, it may suggest that their common ancestor is even more recent than previously thought.
Not one person has brought up cosplayers.
The last time I was in a Joann's, I walked past The last time I was in a Joann's, I walked past a display of fabric specifically marked as for cosplayers. The craft ladies have welcomed them.
Cosplayers are a highly adaptive and wide-ranging subspecies, spanning across craft stores, hardware stores, and art supply stores in their search for the correct resources. It is thought they may be an offshoot of craft ladies adapted for a wider range, or the result of crosses between hardware store lesbians and craft ladies. Cosplayers will seek resources far and wide until they have located the exact items needed to complete their colorful appearances. They then descend in a mass flock at a seasonal gathering, where they often perform ritual displays of their adornments for their fellow cosplayers to gain standing in their packs. Thus, they tend to be transient visitors to any one ecosystem. Like brides-to-be, they can sometimes arrive in large packs just before a gathering and consume large numbers of specific resources very quickly, but the system usually has time to rebound afterwards. Unless you're in Christmas, and in which case all bets are off. I have seen women elbow each other for packages of stick pins in order to design Halloween or Christmas decorations for craft fairs. It gets ugly out there, folks. Very, very ugly. I can do a little bit of crochet and I can do a little bit of knitting, but I'm not very good at either.
What was the subspecies they missed?
The Christmas crafters. OMG. Like brides-to-be, they will come in, they will take no shit, they will spend way too much money and go to every store and take every one of a specific resource. There's whole blood pack feud things going on with Christmas crafters, I swear. Don't even think about trying to get your hands on red, white, or green felt from October to January. It can't be done.
See, all I'm thinking of now is I think the pre-Black Friday Penny Arcade from a few years ago, where Gabe I think it's Tycho finds Gabe on his knees weeping in front of a Best Buy. He's like, "You alright, buddy? I used to work here." "Really?" "Yeah, this spot right here. This is where an old lady called me a motherfucker."
Right? I mean, Beasterton, they forgot the historical war gamers. Cosplayers, they completely forgot all of the SCA folks, all the historical reenacting people who are really, really specific about fiber contents, and whoo! This is an inspired thread. I bet it's like a gazillion lines long.
You see, now you're just flashing me back to one of the 2 bits of genuinely brilliant advice my old regional manager gave me. Because for a while the store I was running was going to start selling LARP weapons, and I said, "Look, do you have any advice?" He said, "Yeah, it's really easy. Put them up behind the counter, and about 3 times a month someone will come in and go, 'Could I just try the sword out for weight?' And you hand it to them and they'll go, put it back, and a month after that they'll buy it."
Dice makers are a very obscure subspecies, Duck says, so I was not surprised they weren't mentioned, but will roam anywhere glitter is to be found.
Craft herpes.
Enamel pin makers, anywhere you can find something pointy. Now, which type is the equivalent of wolves in Yellowstone, ensuring the deer don't overeat the trees and other plants? Probably new entrants to a hobby, the people who will buy just a little bit of everything, but then put the hobby down and then start a new one and start a new collection and then move on. And don't look at my craft piles under the desk over there. That's not me, honest. It's just cross stitch right now. That's all I can handle. That's all I have space for.
See, I was about to ask where all the GMs hang out, and I remembered they either have laser printers at home or they just go to Kinko's, print off lots of character sheets.
Well, in the old days, now. That's why I've never played D&D.
In the olden times.
Because you need a software program to build your character. I'm like, I'm out. Sorry. Nope. Sorry. I don't need another fun with spreadsheets. Fun with spreadsheets is Wendy's job. I work with spreadsheets, but I don't want to have fun with spreadsheets. It's too much. Never again. Okay.
Whereas I look at spreadsheets and they go, "Stay a while." And I'm like, "Stay forever. We'll teach you basic functions." Oh, God, why?
And on that note.
Yes, why not? You can find us in some places this week. This Friday.
Well, he quickly remembers what they are.
Late breaking news.
Well, that's the nice thing about embroidery and cross stitch is you can do a couple of different techniques, and they use the same types of fibers, the same types of hoops and needles and tools. they tend to be a little more compact. But then you have the problem of, but I have too many things that are done and I don't have enough walls. So that's why last year, year before, it's why I did a craft swap with somebody. I'm like, look, I suck at crocheting, but I really want one of those nice warm neck wrap shawl things. But I cross stitch, and I found a friend who crochets, and so we made projects for each other, and we swapped, and that was great.
See, this is one of the reasons why I'm really happy I'm a food nerd, because thanks to you and to the fact that, you know, I now know what cooking supply stores are, I can have this experience irregularly and find myself, you know, looking at those weird long ramen sieves and going,
You mean, it's called a chinois.
Oh, no, I don't mean the chinois, but thank you. That was the other thing I was trying to figure out.
What?
The ones where, like, it's like ramen cylinders, and you put all the stuff in it, and you boil it, and you take it out and shake it.
It's the sieve that's in a basket shape. That
yes.
Those are cool. I should do a craft swap as like an end of year thing.
Wouldn't that be cool? That would be cool. We should do that.
Take it to the Discord, folks. If you guys want to talk about doing a craft swap over the cold and winter months when we're all skint after Christmas and we have time but nothing else to do, that would be a good time to do it. It can be helpful to wait until you have craft excess and then seek out swaps of completed work. Yeah, exactly. It's like, I can do cross stitch for people, but please don't let me keep any more of my house. That's too much. That's too much. Right. So where are we going to be this week? What is today?
Today is Wednesday.
Oh God, I'm technically on vacation now.
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
Mm-hmm.
We will be back on Friday with the full lid.
With this week's nominated
No
full
win.
lid,
No
which this week.
Thank God Hugo voting's over. It's done. Now we just have to go to a party and have a good time and cry in our beer or whatever. You know, it'll be fine. Commiserate. Losing well is an important skill. It's a hard skill. Anyway. I make Marguerite and Alasdair give home to all my crochet output. Yes, you do.
Good job.
And it's delightful. We are doing the Giving of Thanks feasts. That is correct. Tomorrow I'm going to a spa and getting a massage.
There's going to be a swimming pool. There's going to be drinks.
Lunch out with a friend. We have a friend who wants to go to the local spa but didn't want to go alone. And we, in the before times, used to go more regularly because having somebody beat the stress out of you can be quite useful. And so we're going to go with a friend tomorrow. We're going to do that.
And then we're going to come home and we're going to cook for hours and then eat for even more hours.
And probably marathon through the rest of Wheel of Time because I can't watch any college football games.
We actually have two options in that regard because I got screeners for the first 6 episodes and only the first 3 have dropped. So we could Wheel of Time. So we can maybe...
I thought they were all out.
3 as far as I know. I could be wrong.
I thought they dropped the whole season.
We'll have to check.
I don't know.
We do certainly have 3.
We have many televisual entertainments to amuse us. We have all of Cowboy Bebop.
And Arcane.
And Arcane. Oh God! Oh my God! Arcane is so good! Oh my God, it's so good. We've watched the first 6 episodes. There were 3 groups of 3. We've watched the first 2 groups of 3. We have the last 3 to go. And I have to clear. I need 3.5 hours because by the time I get to the end of it, I just know I'm going to be weeping uncontrollably by the time I get to the end of it. Because that's what happened when I got to the end of the first 3 and I was like, ah!
It's really interesting as well. Someone's done a point-by-point comparison with the original character designs and the character designs for Arcane. And it was marked on my Twitter feed as male gaze. Violet has no body mass and a wasp waist. Lesbian gaze. Violet has arms for days. Vi, yeah.
I want to be Vi when I grow up.
I know you want to be Vi when you grow up.
No, that's not true. There's another character in there who I like the physique of a lot more, and she's Silco's right hand.
Savika.
Oh my God, she's so awesome. Anyway.
I like the big fish dude who serves Vi noodles at one point and is apparently the health spot in League of Legends. The big Mohican fish dude's like...
He's awesome. He was very, very cool. So yes, I have plenty of televisual entertainment to entertain me tomorrow.
Then
while
Friday,
I'm cooking all the turkey.
Then Friday, the full lid will drop,
Yep.
which this week includes a review of the really very good King Richard. A look at the first issue of Star Trek Explorer, some late-breaking news about Star Trek, which is very good news for a lot of people who aren't in the US. And
Alasdair likes big fish dudes. Alasdair likes big character rep. So
look at it this way: the character that I actually did the character map for the character I'm playing in Rogue Maker, and as near as I can figure out, he sits.
You should probably not talk about that quite yet.
Yes, I'll give you a visual for it when
Celestial navigation.
Celestial navigation when we go live, and we're also looking at the first issue of the Kate Bishop Hawkeye comic by Marika Niekamp, which ties into the Disney Plus show. So
cool. So that's Friday.
That's Friday.
And then on Sunday, we will be back in the morning with more Life is Strange.
Yes.
2 colors, which is
so freaking
really good. Really sweet and hard.
Probably about to tear our hearts out and
I was
stamp
going to
on
say, it has this the sensation of tragedy around the corner. So we'll see how that goes.
And that's it.
I think that's it for the week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Next week, what are we going to stream? We have some more spooky holiday fiction for you,
including Charles freaking Dickens.
Including a piece by Charles Dickens. Yes. So there will be more seasonal spoops, and then we are in the process of locking in when our December guests will be joining us. Did she leave? I think she
One of
whom
whom may still be in the chat.
or she fell asleep. We're not sure. Yes. Sounds good.
Boz returns.
Oh God, no.
Christmas in it by Boz.
Okay, you could write that. You know that.
I know.
Okay.
All right.
That sounds good.
And I think that's about it. Thank you so much for joining us, folks.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
And we will see you.
You can do the thing.
Of course. I'm Alasdair.
I've been Marguerite.
And this has been fun. We'll see you next time.
Good night, everybody.